Just recently, before the 4th of July holiday, I went into the store to pick up a bag of potatoes and some limes. And whenever I go to the store, I always check the meat section to see where the prices are standing at, how much has gone up. Now, this one was a real sticker shock to me. And I mean a real sticker shock. Look at the price of that brisket. Now, that is outrageous, and that was a cheap one. The rest of them were $100 or more. Now, I used to buy brisket a long time ago. It was a very inexpensive meat, and I have watched it go up over the years. It used to be a poor man's meat. I knew lots of families. When I say poor, I'm talking, just minimum wage. Um, they would buy a brisket because it was so inexpensive, and it would extend. I mean, there's families that I knew that would buy a brisket, and that's what their family would eat for dinner every single day because it stretched so far and it was so cheap compared to other meats. And it was a nice meat. I mean, it's beef, and it was a nice meat, and they could do a lot with it. Well, you couldn't do. I mean, nowadays that's half of a paycheck. You know, for, if you work at minimum wage, that's half of your paycheck. Most people can't afford it. Not people working at minimum wage anyhow. And yes, things have gone up, and they've gone up over the years. The recession hit us really hard, and I seen things that happened during the recession where they gave you a whole lot less. The quality became even worse, and I'm talking the quality was really bad. I'll give you an example. A store here that we had locally, it had what they call a tortilleria inside the store, and they would make fresh flour tortillas every single day. From the time they opened to the time they closed, they made flour tortillas, and they sold out completely. Sometimes you had to stand in line and wait to get the tortillas because they would sell so many. Families would go in there and they would buy 3 or 4 dozen of tortillas because a lot of people have a large family. They ate them, burritos for breakfast, burritos for lunch, because it's inexpensive. When you look at a lot of people that work for minimum wage, they have to look for cheaper ways to do things. And burritos was a cheap way to go. But when the recession hit, the store changed the flour that it was using. Now, their flour came prepared as far as it had the baking powder, everything in it. They just needed to add water. And they had a machine that would press out the tortillas, but they tasted just like what you made at home. And when the recession hit, it became junk. They changed. The taste was absolutely disgusting. The price went up by 50%, and they no longer gave you a dozen tortillas, they gave you 10. And that was when I started taking a serious look around at just the shrinkflation that was going on. And I myself had to do something to change things for me to be able to get by and still have a halfway decent quality of cooking and, food, but not have to pay an arm and a leg. And I'm going to show you some videos. I'm going to show you some things like I have a scallop recipe that's only 2 ingredients. Saves you a ton on gas and a ton on money. So I hope you'll stay tuned because, like I said, I'm going to show you a lot of different things that I do, things that I have made to help me save money. That's why I make my own bread. It's cheaper. Homemade bread is cheaper and it's better for you. Take a good look at their ingredients list. Bread that I make most of the time has nothing but yeast, flour, and water. Now, it's not that I love making bread. I've always said my laziness is the thing that costs me the most is my laziness. But bread at the store is tasteless to me. It's mushy, and it's full of, I don't know what. half of those ingredients on the side of it are. It's kind of like cake. I don't know what all is in there, but I know a cake made at home only has flour, sugar, some milk, some baking powder, and eggs, and sometimes oil, or sometimes it's only water instead of milk. It's only like 4 or 5 ingredients. Well, they don't give you the egg, and they don't give you the oil in the cake. So what? Should it just be flour and baking powder? Well, there's a lot more in that cake mix than flour and baking powder. Because you have to add the water, the eggs, and the oil yourself. So, what are you paying for? What are all those ingredients? I don't know. I have no clue, and I don't buy cake mix for that reason. But I'm going to show you a simple, easy cake with very few ingredients that my grandmother made. My grandmother lived through the era of the Depression, and so I'm going to share that recipe with you guys. And so I hope you'll keep coming back and visiting, because I have said before, we can all talk about how horrifying things are, but what good does that do us if we can't change it? Just like this, I can do absolutely nothing about that price other than not buy it. But there's some things that I can do that I can change. And that's really what I hope to be able to do to show you guys, is ways that you can change some things. Now, there are some things that I don't mess with. You know, there's a starter that you can use with bread. I've got it. You can talk to King Arthur, the flour company, and they'll tell you how to make bread without yeast. But to get it started, you have to throw a lot of the stuff away. A lot. And I don't want to mess with something that causes or requires that you throw it away. You can't use it. Now, I don't have anybody that I know of that will, take part of it and start themselves and make bread. I don't know anybody who really does that. And so, to me, to try to start that would be way too expensive. And you have to do this every single time that you want to make bread. You have to constantly take part of it and get rid of it. And it's a long process, and it's very time consuming. So as long as I can still get yeast at the store, I think making my own bread with yeast is cheaper than starting and creating the yeast within my flour. I love King Arthur, and I love the flour, and it's great. If I ever get really stuck, I may have to do it. And I've written everything down, and maybe if something happens and other people will be interested, and maybe I can share with them then, but that's not how it is right now. But see, I always write things down because I don't know what the future holds. And I know how it's done, but I just don't want to bother with it now. But the bread I make at home is far cheaper than what I can get bread at the store. Plus, it tastes a lot better. Cake made at home is completely different than this soft, pillowy, gooey stuff that comes in a box. Cake made at home is much denser, and it's just better for you. There's other ways of looking at things. Not just the cost at the store, but what is the cost to your health? From all the garbage that's put into things that you eat, well, what's the cost to the health part of it? Over a lifetime as a young kid, your parents fed you cupcakes or, sugared cereals. What is the cost health-wise over a lifetime? Medically, how bad off does it make us? Physically healthy. Well, I just think natural, doing it yourself, is far better for us than running to the store and buying it, not considering how expensive it's become also. There was a time when we would say, oh, I can get a bag of chocolate chip cookies at the store much cheaper than what I can make them. Not anymore. Have you seen the size of chocolate chip cookies now compared to what they were before? They sure did make them tiny. Well, stay tuned. Keep coming back for more tips, because I'm going to give you some good ones. God bless you, and have a blessed day.